Pay attention to this lady coming from the kitchen with a butcher knife behind her. She's about to commit the most horrific crime that will keep investigators shocked. Now, turn your attention to this little girl, barely 3 years old. CCTV captures the moment she's about to become a victim to the most horrific crime you'll ever hear. But what happened next will keep you in tears. April 21st, 2025, Palm Beach County, Florida. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon when a chilling 911 call comes through dispatch. The voice on the other end belongs to a young mother, 27-year-old Roshawn Gatlin. Her tone is eerily calm. She's not calling to report a crime she witnessed. She's calling to confess one she's just committed. Okay, so you did this on purpose? Yes, Roshawn says quietly. The voices told me to. When Palm Beach County deputies arrive at the scene minutes later, nothing can prepare them for what they're about to find. A young child, barely 3 years old, bleeding from multiple stab wounds. 20 in total, maybe more. We've got multiple stab wounds to a 3-7. The suspects in custody. The deputies rush inside the small apartment. A butcher knife, nearly 8 inches long, lies on the bathroom floor, its blade stained in red. The child is breathing, conscious, and crying softly. The mother, Roshawn Gatlin, stands nearby, her hands trembling, her voice flat. I don't know why I did it, she tells them. Something told me to. In a crime so shocking it shakes even veteran detectives. The line between delusion and reality becomes terrifyingly blurred. This is the story of Roshawn Gatlin, a young mother, a mental health patient, and a woman who claimed the voices in her head told her to hurt the one person she loved most. If you're new here, welcome to True Crime Secrets. We dive deep into the real cases that leave investigators and the public haunted long after the headlines fade. If you appreciate deep dive true crime storytelling told with empathy and truth, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and let's begin. Roshawn Gatlin wasn't a monster, at least not according to those who knew her. To most, she was quiet, sometimes withdrawn, sometimes smiling in family photos, but always devoted to her little girl. Her daughter, barely 3 years old, was the center of her world. Friends and neighbors said Roshawn could often be seen walking the child around the courtyard of their apartment complex in Riviera Beach. She'd braid her hair, sing softly, and sometimes laugh to herself when her daughter giggled. But behind closed doors, something darker was brewing. According to her boyfriend, Basilio, Roshawn had been struggling with mental health problems for months, maybe longer. In December 2024, she was involuntarily committed to a psychiatric facility. Doctors prescribed medication for schizophrenia, but after a few weeks, she stopped taking it regularly. Patient reports auditory hallucinations, hearing voices telling her she is unsafe, shows signs of paranoia, anxiety, and depressive thought. When Roshawn returned home, she seemed distant. Basilio noticed her staring off for long periods, whispering under her breath, and growing suspicious of everyone, even him. At one point, she had cameras installed in their apartment, convinced she needed to catch Basilio doing something to their kids. He later told investigators that she seemed to be losing touch with reality. She spoke about unseen presences. And one day, she told him she didn't want to be in this world anymore. She said she wanted to hurt herself, and she felt like hurting the child, so I took her to the hospital. After a brief stay, Roshawn was released on medication with outpatient instructions. But the system, as it so often does, sent her home too soon. Monday, April 21st, 2025. The day starts out like any other. Basilio leaves the house to pick up his teenage son. Roshawn stays home with her daughter. The cameras she insisted on installing are still rolling, silent observers of what's about to unfold. At around 2:55 p.m., motion-activated sensors trigger. Roshawn walks into the kitchen. She pauses for a moment, then opens a drawer and pulls out a large butcher knife. She calls out to her daughter. "Come in the bathroom," she says. The little girl hesitates. A faint, frightened "no" can be heard in the background. Then tiny footsteps echo across the floor. What happens next is too horrific to show. Inside that small bathroom, beyond the camera's view, Roshawn begins to stab her daughter, over 20 times, mostly in the back and torso, each wound shallow but deliberate. Seconds later, the sound of sobbing fills the hallway. The door creaks open. Roshawn walks out, clutching her phone. She dials 911. "Why were you trying to hurt your daughter?" "I don't know," Roshawn answers. "You don't know?" "The voices told me to." The operator keeps her calm. "Stay with me, ma'am. Is she breathing?" "She's bleeding a little bit," Roshawn says. "It's mostly in her back." Deputies from the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office rush to the scene. Body cameras record their entry. Flashlights sweep across the living room floor. The child lies there on the floor, crying softly, whispering for her daddy. "She's gonna be okay," an officer says, pressing gauze against the child's wounds. "You're gonna be okay, sweetheart." Roshawn was handcuffed and led to the police car nearby, motionless. Her hands trembled, her face streaked with tears. "Can one of you just shoot me?" she whispers to the police. Even as officers handcuff her, Roshawn's voice remains flat, detached. "I just want to die," she says. Paramedics rush the little girl to St. Mary's Medical Center, where she's treated for 16 to 20 stab wounds. Miraculously, every wound is superficial, none hit a major organ. The doctors call it a miracle. The deputies call it something else entirely. Unthinkable. Outside, the neighborhood fills with flashing lights and whispers. Basilio pulls up, unaware of what's happened. He thinks it's a traffic stop or an accident nearby. But when officers approach him, his world collapses. "Your daughter's alive," they tell him, "but she's been hurt. She's at the hospital." "What happened?" he asks. "Your girlfriend. She called it in herself." He stares in disbelief. He had just spoken to her hours earlier. Everything seemed fine. Nothing was fine. In that home, reality had cracked. And inside Roshawn's mind, a storm of delusions and voices had taken control, leading to one of the most disturbing child abuse cases Palm Beach County had ever seen. Before we continue, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel. Give this video a thumbs up if you believe more people need to hear stories like this, and share your thoughts in the comments below. When deputies escorted 27-year-old Roshawn Gatlin from her Palm Beach apartment, her hands were stained with her daughter's blood, her expression distant, her eyes hollow. Officers described her demeanor as flat, detached, and somewhere else entirely. She didn't fight. She didn't cry. She simply whispered, "The voices told me to do it." It's a phrase investigators would hear over and over in the hours to come. Inside the interrogation room at the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, detectives start the interview gently. They've dealt with suspects who show remorse, and those who don't. But Roshawn doesn't fit either. She's calm, almost too calm. "Roshawn, can you tell us what happened today?" "I was in the bathroom. I grabbed the knife. I didn't want to do it." "Why did you?" "Because the voices said she wasn't safe. They told me if I didn't, something bad would happen to both of us." Her voice trembles as she explains that for days, she'd been hearing whispers, telling her she was being watched, followed, recorded. In her mind, even her own child wasn't safe. "I love her," Roshawn tells detectives. "I didn't want her to be hurt by them, so I tried to save her." It's clear she's not making excuses. She's describing a break from reality, a psychotic episode fueled by untreated schizophrenia. For investigators, this isn't just another case file. It's a chilling reminder of what happens when the system collapses, and a mother slips through every crack. Court documents reveal that just months before the attack, Roshawn had been Baker acted, Florida's version of an involuntary psychiatric hold. She was released after a short evaluation, prescribed medication, told to follow up with outpatient therapy. But she didn't. Her boyfriend, Basilio, told police he tried. He begged her to take her medication. But the paranoia, the voices, kept telling her not to. She'd think the pills were poison, he said. She'd think I was trying to hurt her. Roshawn's mental state worsened. When nobody knows, she stopped sleeping. She stopped eating. She started whispering to shadows no one else could see. And yet, despite these red flags, the system sent her home. Mental health advocates in Florida have long warned that the Baker Act is too limited, that it releases unstable individuals after just 72 hours without ensuring real long-term treatment. In Roshawn's case, that loophole nearly cost a child her life. At St. Mary's Medical Center, Roshawn's daughter undergoes emergency treatment. Doctors discover she's been stabbed between 16 and 20 times, but miraculously, none of the wounds are fatal. She's described as a fighter, a survivor in the smallest sense of the word. If any of those stabs had gone half an inch deeper, she wouldn't have made it. For the next few days, she's placed under protective custody while Child Welfare Services investigate. The Department of Children and Families moves quickly to ensure her safety. Meanwhile, Roshawn sits in the Palm Beach County Jail, charged with attempted murder and aggravated child abuse. Her bail denied. Behind bars, Roshawn's mental state continues to unravel. She's placed on suicide watch, monitored 24/7. Her attorneys request a mental competency evaluation. When Roshawn appears in court for the first time, her expression mirrors the same haunting calm from the day of her arrest. She speaks softly, barely looks up. The judge reads the charges. Count 1, attempted first-degree murder of a child. Count 2, aggravated child abuse with a deadly weapon. Roshawn simply nods. Her public defender requests a mental evaluation. The prosecutor doesn't object. This appears to be a case of severe psychosis, the attorney says. Our goal now is to determine competency and ensure the child remains safe. It's a courtroom scene that divides public opinion. Some online commenters demand justice, calling her a monster who should never see daylight again. Others, though, see something different. A woman lost in a storm her mind created, failed by a system that saw the signs and did nothing. Months later, Roshawn remains in custody awaiting trial. Her daughter, now recovering physically, is placed in protective care with relatives. She carries scars, not just on her body, but deeper ones that time will have to heal. Basilio visits her every chance he gets. He says she's strong, brave, and that she still asks about her mother. She misses her mom. She doesn't understand what happened. I just tell her mommy's sick, that she's getting help. The case draws attention across Florida, reigniting debates over mental illness, motherhood, and the haunting intersection of love and psychosis. Doctors say it's a textbook tragedy, one that could have been prevented with consistent care. But for Roshawn Gatlin, the reality is irreversible. Her name now sits in a Palm Beach County docket, a reminder that sometimes monsters aren't born. They're created by illness, neglect, and silence. In her mind, she thought she was saving her daughter. In reality, she nearly destroyed her. Crimes like this often show us the darkest sides of humanity, the cruelty, the violence, the unthinkable. But sometimes, like in this case, it also reveals something far more complicated: the quiet tragedies of untreated mental illness. The voices Roshawn heard were real to her, terrifying, relentless, and convincing, and they pushed her past the point of reason. Her daughter survived, but the scars left behind on both their lives will never fully heal. If you found this story powerful, heartbreaking, or thought-provoking, please take a moment to subscribe to True Crime Secrets. Your support helps us bring more real stories, told with empathy, truth, and care, to light. And if you or someone you love is struggling with mental health or hearing voices, please know, help is available. You're not alone. In the United States, you can call or text 988 for the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, 24 hours a day. Thank you for watching and for caring enough to listen.